Hello YouTube world. This is my first YouTube video and I think I've tried to make it 3 or 4 times now. I have a permaculture farm. One of my other passions, I went to school. First I went to school to be a nurse. Found out I don't like other people's bodily fluids. Does not work for nursing. But I also love architecture and design. So I was going to school for interior design and my goal was going to be an alternative architect at some point. And I ended up staying home to raise my children, and military life, moving around, it was difficult it's difficult to transfer credits and have an odd degree when you're doing military life. So I never did finish, but I have a lot of, that's still my passion. And raising my kids was much more important than finishing college. So but I love design. I still love design. I love art. And like I said, we have a farm. My husband has a day job. So I've been trying to do YouTube for a little bit. And every time I try, something goes wrong with the video, won't upload, or something gets interrupted. So I'm going to try to rattle through this. I know I'm speaking fast. And I don't have any professional stuff, no editing software, no tripod, nothing. So this is going to be what it is. And it's just to let me jump in with both feet, which is common for me, and to start somewhere. It's winter. It's cold. Right now it's dark. And we're in teens or 20s probably today. We've had some really, really cold days. It's not abnormal. We're zone 5. And I can't really do much farm videotaping because it is winter. So I'm just going to go around this room. Every time I do the video, there's something I don't want in the video, or there's something I forgot that was I really want to make sure I mention. So now hopefully if I just go around the room, I can get everything in. This house we bought over a decade ago. It was in such poor shape that everyone kept asking us if it was a foreclosure. We had a general contractor at first, and then we've been finishing stuff. There was so much wrong that we just spent the beginning of the house doing a lot of the unseen things, lighting, plumbing. We had a part of the house lifted and the bond replaced and the foundation fixed. I mean, there wasn't a system in this house that didn't have to get touched. New roof had to get put on before we even had occupancy. So we're still working on things. This room is not done. As you can tell over here, we don't have all the trim, and this trim's only put up and not finished off. But I thought I can start. I can start with where we are and what we've done. And then as things go along, I'll try to, incorporate new things. So this room was one of their children's rooms, and it was splatter painted with primary color, red, blue, yellow, green, chunks of paint on the wall, and we did not know how to do that short of stripping out the drywall. And when we had so many other things going on in the house and things that we were discovering that didn't get picked up by the inspections, we just didn't want to tackle that. Even though the previous owner was a very heavy smoker and the whole house had a very strong cigarette smell in it, we still deal with that a little bit. We did the recommended Special Kills paint, and we took out all of the carpeting and some of the other flooring in the house and left only a little bit of carpet on some stairs and the ceramic porcelain tile in the house and some of the linoleum. Everything else got taken out as far as the all carpeting except for that bit on the stairs. So we still do get some cigarette smoke smell. And we could have done the tenting with ozone. Never got that far. You have to take a lot of things out. It kills, good things in your house. So, I don't know. If I ever fully get rid of that smell, I'll share that because it's been a real big problem for us. This is a shrunk from Germany, and they have in Germany what they call Sperrmüll. Well, they used to when I was stationed there in the 80s. And it's beautifully engineered. Every piece is separate. The interior pieces are separate. And there's like big piano hinges here. And then each door is like that. And then there's these locking brackets that go down into a groove that keep the walls and parts on and the top and the bottom. And it's magnificent. I used to go with I had an 84 Volkswagen Vanagon that I loved. And sadly, the engine froze up after we shipped it back to the States. And we had to sell it. But a guy did refurbish it. And I used to go out with my friends and us military wives. I was active duty and then I was a military wife. And we used to go do junking. We called it junking. And I got some beautiful pieces that I brought back from Europe. And my ex-husband got some in our divorce, and I got some. And this is one of the pieces I got. And it's beautiful. This room did not have a real closet. It had a piece of Formica over here, like a desk. And then I forget what was on this side. I know that sounds weird, but we've done a lot of work. And I have a big family, and sometimes you just can't remember all the details, especially when you're on the spot in a video. And I'm very eclectic, and I love antiques. I grew up with a family that likes antiques. So you'll see just a random assortment of things. And sometimes they're from things I brought back from overseas or from my travels. We were stationed in a lot of places, and I almost never buy anything new. So everything I have is either full price, I should say. Most things I try to get used, and other than that, it's an heirloom, it's a gift, it's a clearance sale, it's couponed, it's a closeout, it's a thrift store, restore, secondhand, garage sale, flea market, side of the road. That's how I've been since I was little, I guess. I've always had hand-me-downs and things like that. So I love the history, I guess, of things like that and the character, and I hate fake. I grew up in a dumpy house trailer, and I cannot stand not plywood. I cannot stand particle board or laminate, fake plastic laminate. I abhor those two materials. So I'd rather have a ratty piece of wood, real wood, than something that looks brand new made out of Formica or particle board. So that's another reason why things don't get done as fast, because I will wait till I can have something that I like rather than substitute it for something fake. So the walls are a quote sort of faux Venetian plaster. I did this in our previous house in the kitchen, and we covered these with, I think I talked about this, had the splatter paint. So we did this. I explained the technique to our general contractor, and he did the plaster work, and I ragged the paint. So it's 2 colors of paint. You put the mud on the wall, and then bring out I think you knife out to get the peaks, and then you knock it down, scrape it off, and then you're left with some of these valleys and stuff. And it's been many years since we did this technique, so I'm sorry that I may not be explaining it exactly right. And then 2 colors. This is a yellow with a creamy white, and I think I wet rag rolled it, and it works really well. You can see I got a couple of dings over here, and those are really easy to fix when you got walls like this. And it was a big solution, and I realized I squirreled right there because I went to the topic and then changed the topic and then went back to the topic. That's going to happen a lot. So it worked really well in this room, if you can imagine it when it was splatter painted. And now I hope it's serene and beautiful. This is a guest room. We do have a large family, and when I looked for this house, I looked for a house that my kids could come home, and most of them were grown, and that we'd have room to, have room for the kids and the grandkids to come and stay. So it's a decent size. It's not huge. This house was built in the 60s. So one of the other things in this house is upstairs we have 7'2" ceiling heights. That is really problematic. I can't put ceiling fans in. I love ceiling fans. My days in the South, they're so integral down there. And they're really nice for moving air and helping with, I think, heat bills and things, especially if you have an alternative heating, like fireplace or something like that. Can't do it here. This light fixture was, and I got a set of them. They were supposed to go somewhere else in the house, but it worked in here. It's not quite antique looking, but not quite modern looking. I have oil rub bronze up here in the upstairs, and I have satin nickel and oil rub bronze combination downstairs. Again, I'm eclectic, and I don't have to have things matchy-matchy. I don't really like matchy-matchy. And I got what I could, like when stores were going on closeout or like resets or something. So you'll see here's oil rub bronze on the hardware. And one of the things that we do in our house, my husband and I, there's real doors, real locks, real door handles. And I like handles. That's a throwback from living in Europe. They're easier for people. I can open a door handle with an elbow. I think they're prettier. And these are real keyed entry door locks, and they are on our bathrooms and all of our interior doors as well as our exterior doors. That gives privacy. I had trauma as a kid, I guess, from, having other children come visit and then getting walked in on in the bathroom or the bedroom or something, and didn't like that. And I guess that stuck with me enough that now I put locks on all of our doors. And it's a safety factor for children. My house is not baby proof. I do have young grandchildren or friends that have young children, and I can shut a room off and not worry about a kid coming in and getting into something that would break and hurt them or something. So it's a good, I like it. It's a little expensive, unless you get them on clearance. And if you don't care if they all match, like me, you can do different ones through your house because you can pick them up here and there. This was probably thrift store, and you can see the screws didn't come with it, and they're shiny, and so I'll have to paint those out. I haven't done that. And the trim is a kit from Home Depot, and then we put plinth in. I was calling it plinth forever, and I believe it's pronounced plinth, and the molding is not here, and that's a whole story which I will share when I do another space or something. But it is actually tongue and groove paneling that's got a really nice profile, and my beautiful sweet husband has been cutting the grooves off, taking a piece of the groove and nailing it and gluing it to the back side of the tongue and then caulking it in place. And it looks gorgeous when it's done, and nobody knows it's made from tongue and groove paneling, and it's got this beautiful tall profile, but you don't see any of it here. So I love the plinth and these door kits, and the door is solid wood. The house had hollow core doors. Some of them were covered in stickers, and I painted these. So they do have the brush strokes. I'm okay with that. I actually like it. I don't want to sound snobby. There can be criticisms over, the brush strokes in the door, but I hand painted each one of these 6-panel doors in this house, and there's some more to get done. And I want them to have age and character. I hate hollow core doors. They're kind of fake to me, even though if they're made out of real wood. And these are much more substantial. They're better at sound blocking. They look better. They wear better. They're classic. They're timeless. These doors could be here 100 years from now. And since I hand painted them, I don't care if they show the brush strokes of the actual handwork that went into the door. I don't want it to have that really shiny, smooth, straight from the manufacturer look. This piece of art is one of my favorite paintings. It's Van Gogh's The Cafe. It reminds me of my years in Europe, and I framed that myself. The military, I don't know if they still have it because I haven't been on a military base in a long time. They had a shop where we could go do that, and so I did frame that myself. This is a thrift store piece. This register obviously needs to be painted to blend into the room. This was some kind of other outlet or something, and this doesn't really, now this is something I don't like that doesn't match. I don't know if I can get a solid in the metal, and this is just the plastic cover to keep it safe. I do want to do something with that, but I haven't figured that one out yet. I probably could scour eBay or something and come up with a solid plate there that's real metal, and I can always paint it to match. This bed was from my family from the late 1800s. There's other pieces to the set, and I refinished, had the bed refinished. Part of the legs had to be cut off because it was rotted at the bottom, so it's a little shorter than it should be. The mattress, we get our mattresses from Foam Factory. None of this is sponsored. This is my very first YouTube video, but we do like Foam Factory mattresses because you can select the firmness, the depth, the cover, and we've been doing them for years. And what we're going to do, this is a little bit too low, and this bed has these like I don't know, they're not skis, but like sleigh runner things on the sides, and it's hard to make the bed. So we need a new mattress, and I'm going to cut. If you use an electric knife, you can cut through foam very easily. And we're going to cut, my husband and I will cut the piece out of our mattress, which is larger. This is smaller. It's actually custom size because it's smaller than an actual full. And put it on the bottom. and raise this up to get them past that, and that's going to fix this. And it's a good way for us to upcycle and not throw a big foam mattress into the landfill. And then I'm going to use some of the other pieces to beef up our couch cushions, because I love my couch, but it's getting a little saggy. The silk flower arrangements are almost always from the thrift store, and those are easy to do. These might have been new, but clearance, they're faded because they were in the sun a lot in another spot in the house. Wash them, just soap and water, and put like an Awesome or a Simple Green cleaner, and swish them around, rinse them off, hang them up to dry, and you will have clean silk flowers. I also love candles. I had a handmade soy candle business, and also bath and body products. And before the crash of 2008, it was called Bathe in Beauty. And after the crash, I was in several stores locally. I did home shows, I did custom orders, I did craft shows, and the crash happened, and I have not really gone back to that. So I still love candles, but I don't really make them anymore. I may at some point. I still have most of my equipment, but I buy most of my candles at thrift stores or secondhand. And the way to clean them, because a lot of times they are gross, is warm soapy water, not hot. And you put some soap, and if they got some, real funk on them, get a rag and, wash off with the warm soapy water. And then if you have to dig with like your fingernail or something to get it, like, something that's embedded, you can do that and set them to dry. I often put them on my dryer, but you have to be careful how hot the top of your dryer is, on like a towel, a rag towel. And they can come out looking like brand new. And I do that even with a container candle. I will just tip them. I would just take the paper off and wipe the paper off, and then wash it, tip it upside down when it's drying after it's been cleaned. And then you might have to sit it for a while in the other direction so that all the moisture evaporates out of it. And that works really good for rejuvenating candles. And you can get candles all day long at thrift stores. Let me see, pillows. Love pillows. Hazard of being into design. Again, almost all thrift store. You get a feel for them, you go, you squish. I just sometimes will go down a whole rack of pillows and squish until I find a down or feather. Down is better. You mostly find feather. Sometimes you get really blessed and you find the down. That's the finer, softer feathers on a fowl. But they're fluffy pillows, but they're also useful. A lot of things that you can get that are decorative can be useful in cases of emergency. Down pillows could be turned into down bedding, a down comforter, a down coat. Candles can be used for lighting and for a tiny bit of heat, carefully. I also like oil lamps, also another thing that is decorative, but is good in a case of an emergency. This beautiful quilt was from my beloved Aunt Dosey of blessed memory, and she gave it to me shortly after we bought the house, and she passed away from cancer, sadly, a few years after that. And I hope it lasts a long time, because it reminds me of her, and she also loved interiors and design and sewing and lots of the things that I love. And the flowers, those are again thrift store. This big piece of art, thrift store, I think it had a cut in it, and it might still have the cut. And I don't think I have fixed that. There is a way to do that. This painting over here was my great grandmother's. This is the plaid from a family, not our family. I found it at the thrift store, but we actually do have some ancestors whose last name is Clark. This may or may not be related to us, but I just thought it was cool, and the colors went in this room, and it was just a blessing to find it. This lamp was my one of my best friend Kathy's parents in their living room in the house she grew up in, and these antique bulbs are lovely to reuse, to go with it, and it goes well in this room. The lamp is kind of a conglomeration. Somebody had put those pieces together, and then that shade came out of my in-laws' cottage that they had years ago. This lamp, another thrift store. Again, you can wash the lampshade, soap and water, spray it down, set it someplace to dry. You can get all the little parts like the finials and things that are missing, You can get those at the hardware store, you know, Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever. And I love vintage linens. So sometimes they're family pieces and sometimes they're from the thrift stores or garage sales and such. And there is a way with lemon, which I have not done, to take the stains out. I'm usually pretty good with other stain removers, but I do have some pieces that I need to put lemon on and put them out in the sun. And I think my husband just started the snowblower to do snow. We've gotten quite a bit of snow today. I love scripture, so you'll see lots of verses, and that's not antique-ish. I love antiques, but I do love to have scripture. I think it's uplifting and it's a blessing, and especially in a guest room. I love crosses. This one over here was a gift from one of my daughter's best friends after my daughter's baby shower. This lamp, they don't match. It went a long time, and I know there's shadow. It's nighttime. And this is like, I got a chance to do this video because I wasn't feeling very good. My voice is a little hoarse today. So I'm in the house and it's dark. So this is the best I could do. And if I don't do it now, I mean, who knows how long it will be before I do a YouTube video. This light sat for a long time without a globe on the top. And I found that sunflower one. I love flowers. I'm not particularly crazy about that sunflower pattern. It is vintage. It reminds me of the 70s. But it fit the lamp, and it may just be that way forever, or I might find something better. Don't know. This oil lamp, again, I don't have the glass. It's been sitting here for a while without the hurricane, but I'll find it eventually, one that fits. And in the meantime, it's a nice piece, you know, and it can be useful. I would not want to use it without a hurricane on it, though. This is also thrift store art, and it is actually signed and numbered. And it's just it's a lithograph or it's a painting. I don't know. I think it's a print of a painting. I know that's like, my brain is like trying to focus when I'm trying to do a YouTube video, and I'm nervous and trying to get the facts when normally I could probably explain that. That you can see, another thing I can want to talk about is this. You can see this drip. Our house is not well insulated, and we had the spray foam done when we bought the house once we discovered it was not well insulated. And I don't think I would do that again. It was open cell, closed cell, yes, but the open cell insulation was not a good fix for us. It was expensive, and everywhere that there's like framing, we ended up with some condensation still, and you can see, I mean, I don't think the walls are that dirty. This is clean paint in here. It just, I don't know what that comes from, but it happens in several of the rooms, and it's because where there's framing, they can't put that spray foam, and they don't really explain that to you when you get it. Well, maybe they did, and I didn't register to me. But it settles. And then we had some work done in another part of the house, and the wall had been spray foamed with that open cell stuff, and it fell out like the Dust Bowl, and everyone was coughing. It burned your throat, and it had no structure to it. It had no integrity. And I feel like rigid foam board on the outside of the house would have been a much better choice. And my husband and I have talked about it several times, because the previous owner was a heavy smoker and we're still working on the cigarette smoke smell. That I had mentioned it when we bought the house, but we were so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't have any idea what it would have cost stripping it down to the studs and taking all the drywall out. Don't know that we could have afforded that, or the time or the effort, or paying the contractor to do that, or whatever. But in hindsight, in some ways, with all the other work we ended up having to get done, the electrical, plumbing upgrades, just so many things, and all the painting with the special paint, the primer, to try to kill that smell, I'm not too sure if it would have been that much more expensive. Drywall wasn't that expensive. I don't think drywall work was that expensive back then, but that might have been a solution to what we've dealt with since we bought the house, with not stripping the drywall off. One, like I said, the systems that had to be fixed and worked on through walls, and the smell. And then we got this, and we could have done proper insulation potentially if we would have done that. But rigid foam board on the exterior, we actually did start that in a part of the house. I may talk about that someday, because of the serious condensation we were getting in some closets, and it did help. But we haven't finished the exterior of the house. It's a nightmare to do it with just my husband, my son, and our youngest, and my husband and our youngest, and my husband and I. And it was a super hot day when we did that. That's another story. So the curtains, these curtains are just temporary. I was originally going to do, I love wood shutters, and I would love to have real wood operating shutters on the outside of the house. And maybe someday that'll happen, and I have some ideas for that. The hardware is what's prohibitive. It's not the shutters, it's the hardware. It's expensive. But we had Fenster Roland, I think that's how it's pronounced, in Germany, which was from the war, and you could completely block out light with this aluminum blind, solid, like the ones they do in like the shopping malls, but they're solid. And there'd be a rope on the inside of the wall, and you would pull it out and you would roll that down and roll that up. Oh my goodness, it was fantastic. But we don't have that option. You can buy them. I've seen them. Company out of Georgia, I think, when I looked them up. But yeah, who could afford that? And you'd have to build it in your house. And but anyway, that was a beautiful thing in one of our apartments in Germany. So the windows were going to be either I'd love to have like some blinds in here, real wood blinds, or I was gonna do Roman shades, cordless Roman shades, fabric. They're cotton on one side, and they have a blackout fabric in the back. And I did put them in a different room, but I found that over time they yellow a little bit, and taking them down and trying to wash them and not destroy them is kind of painful. And I got them at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I used a coupon, all that, but Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business. Now they're back online, but they're like $150, I think, a blind. And they were hard to find. I think I had a hard time maybe because the company was starting to go downhill or something, but I didn't end up doing more than one room with them. They do block out the light. So the plan is now I have some Pottery Barn, which I got off eBay, so I did save some money on them. White linen with the blackout lining. And they're not up because they got packed, and I want to wash them and hang them on the clothesline, and it's the dead of winter, so these are up for now. It took me a long time to figure out what I was going to do with the windows once I realized the other blinds were not going to work. And I think with the blackout curtain, the white linen will go well with the room. I love linen. I had a linen business too for a while. I've tried a lot of things. So I think the look will be beautiful, and I like the blackout lining both for insulation factor and because this is a guest room. I think it's nice for guests to be able to have that kind of privacy, or whatever, anybody have that kind of privacy. So that's the plan for those. The curtain rods are clearanced, and some of the screws also need to be painted. Either they were missing or they stripped out or something. So my husband put in whatever he had handy, and so some of them are black and some of them are white. And I need to just go paint the screw heads and take care of that. So there's lots of those little details, and I am absolutely a person who notices those details. And I can walk away from them, but when then I see them, I know that I got to go back and fix that. I'm not so obsessed that I have to do it right now, but I still want it done. It's still like this is not finished because that little thing is hanging out there undone. Like I said, I love scripture. I've got like this one over here on the dresser. It's kind of modern. It's the more popular, the canvas unframed, and I haven't hung it yet, but I love scripture enough that I'm just going to incorporate it into this room. And if I need to put a frame on it to make it look like it fits better, I will do that. These candles, my beautiful friend Melissa made from one of our fellowships that we go to, her and her children. And this picture was my friend Kathy's, the one who I got the light from, was in her parents' living room, which you can see it matched the light really beautifully. And normally I would not pick up a picture like this in a thrift store or something like that, because it's that like printed on that cardboard or whatever. But in this room, and because it was her, it's meaningful to me. The frame is gorgeous, and I didn't have the heart to separate them and maybe repurpose the frame into something else. But because it's in this room and the room is yellow with blue, and it was her parents, and it came from her, and it matched, you know, it was in the same room with that lamp over in the corner. It works in here to me. You know, like I said, I wouldn't normally, and it's got a little scuff on it, I wouldn't normally pick up something like that other than for the frame, but in this space, and because of where it came from, I left it intact in its original form. And the rest of the pieces are probably all thrift store. Potentially this one could have been a clearance item, but I think it was probably thrift store. And I realized the hooks are not really useful there. I have thought about putting that somewhere else, so that they could be used for a robe or something, but I haven't figured out. We got the robe hook on the back of the door anyway. I haven't really figured out if that's really important. I thought maybe candles hanging there, some dried herbs from the garden. It may happen. I don't know. I haven't figured anything out for those hooks. The candlestick lamp, and then just a random shade that I probably got at a thrift store or discount or something. And so I tend to, you know, find a piece, and then I don't have the coordination piece to it or the rest of it. And eventually I find it. And sometimes it's years. And that's just okay, because I have so many things that I'm always doing, and so many projects, and with farming, and then this house. Like I said, we've been working on this for over a decade and still have a long way to go. This rocking chair was my mother-in-law gave it to my son when he was little. And you know how kids are, they get to a certain age where like, nothing is that important to me that was from my childhood. And, you know, someday, you know, they probably want it back. And I got a wooden rocker, which is not in this room, when I was a child, and I still have it. In fact, this teddy bear was in it. So he's quite old. This potty chair came from Germany, I believe. These were my dolls when I was little, so they're over 50 years old. My grandma Edith made the clothes, and she made me a beautiful patchwork quilt out of these squares that are like an inch or two big out of her old dresses and stuff. I mean, I wish I had that time and skill. It's beautiful. It's a little bit, it's well worn, so I have it put up, and I need to find a place to display it or use it. This pillow was from fabric when I made it when I was younger, from my great grandmother. I got when they sold off her house goods, I got a lot of her fabrics and stuff, and from the garage sale that my grandpa had. And then this lace, and I just put it together with a little bit of lace, and then this piece is faded now, and I made that little pillow. And so I like to do things like that, but I don't get time to sew like I used to. I love to sew. I love to do art. The farming takes most of my time now. The rugs are wool. Again, I find them at thrift stores, or I've bought them from people like they're moving, friends or something. A couple I've gotten from friends. I did bring one or two back from Europe. Take them to a good rug cleaner. In our state, Hagopian is a good rug cleaner. I've taken them elsewhere, and I've inevitably ended up being disappointed. Hagopian's more money by far, but they will do the job, and they can repair a rug to, I think, make it look like the original piece that's missing. They can make it look original again, and I've never been disappointed, I don't think, when I've taken rugs into Hagopian. So I do love wool. It has an insulation factor. If it got cold enough and we had to, you know, something came up and we, you know, lost power and didn't have any heat and it was super cold or something, I would pull these out from under this furniture and I would nail them to the walls if I had to stay warm. So I like to think of things that can be repurposed, reused, that last, like I said, not fake and not, you know, gonna move it once like particle board furniture and then it falls apart and gets wet and swells up and looks gross. And so I don't know how long I've been going. Way too long, longer than I thought. This is a picnic basket, and because the way the door opens, there's not really room for, I haven't found a piece that works well there for a nightstand. It may happen. This little nightstand is like a side table with a magazine rack in it, was from my my husband's great-grandmother's. No, my husband's grandmother's. And so... And I got like a little vase, or the water carafe with a little cup for a guest there. And the little coaster has a blessing on it. It has scripture on it. The Lord bless you and keep you. The scooter was brought back from Germany. These were found in an antique store. And I remember another lady was looking at them, and I think she bought one pin. These are juggler things. She got one and I got one because we decided we'd split them. These little... I think they're Vaseline glass pieces came from my beloved Aunt Lorraine. She is also passed on, and she loved antiques and collectibles, and she used to sell on eBay. And so those pieces came from her. I don't remember where the crock came from. And I like the salt lamps. None of them are plugged in because I need to figure out. I know years ago there were salt lamps that were recalled, and I literally get that busy that I just unplugged them and forgot to go back and look them up. So, and I had them in almost every room, so I need to go back and figure that out. I recently was thinking about that piece, I think thrift store, and it needs a plate stand, and I might have that somewhere. This also was a piece from my Aunt Lorraine, and this piece I believe was from my Aunt Lorraine. So some pieces are like gifts, like I said, and some pieces are thrift store. That piece I think was a gift from my mother-in-law, and yes, I'm pretty sure that one was from my mother-in-law. It's sad. What I do now to keep track of things, because when you get gifted enough and busy and, you sometimes forget those details. I take a picture now, which, okay, everything's digital, which isn't as safe and secure. And, I'm not a museum and I'm not a president. And so, it's not like I have to keep this for posterity, but just for my own recollection. And if I do want to pass things down to my children or whatever, I will write on a piece of Post-it note, and then I set the item down, put that Post-it note there and take a picture and say, this was great grandmother, blah, 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 or whatever. And then I put that in a file, it's in a digital file. And that helps me to keep track of, things that are special. If it's from a thrift store, that also can help because, then nobody thinks it's a family heirloom that you really, it didn't come from somebody, that you really want to make sure it's passed down. Other than that, we got travel books here for guests. That made sense. I love books. I've loved books since I was an avid reader as a child. And so in this room, we did the travel books. So when guests come in, there's all kinds of places we have been, or just places we like, or just because it was a cool book or had cool history or whatever. So that's a nice thing for people to be able to browse through. I have art books, poetry books in other spaces in the house for people to just, pick up something and read. The telescope doesn't get used as often. It was in our son's room. It's dusty. I didn't even dust before I did this video. So that's just sitting here. It doesn't really belong in this room. Well, I need to find a nice place in the house for it. Like I said, it was in his room and he decided he didn't want it in there anymore. So I'm not sure where that will go. The little step stool came out of my in-laws' cottage. It's an ugly orange and I am going to paint it, but it's just like some simple pieces of wood somebody screwed together, but it keeps the metal, and I think that piece came from Germany. It keeps the metal from scraping on the floor. Speaking of the floor, that was something that I missed last time. And the bed mattress, I wanted to talk about that. This is cherry, which my husband and my son and I put in ourselves. It's one of my favorite floors in the house. I love cherry. And like I said, I hate fake. So this is real 3/4 inch tongue and groove. It is utility grade. I believe it's utility grade from Lumber Liquidators. They do not have the best flooring. Sorry, I'm just going to be straight about this. I am not a very good person at sugarcoating things sometimes. You can get a discount, even though I said this is my favorite floor. You can get discount stuff there. But when we've had professionals come out, professional flooring, we have one of our son's bedroom floor got purchased and installed by another professional flooring company. And they said they have a lot of problems with the Lumber Liquidator lumber floors. They're not evenly milled. And so, you get gaps and you get highs and lows and they don't meet right. Well, this one was it was a discount grade. I think it was $249 a square foot. We put it in ourselves and it had a lot of damage on it. And what I would do is my husband, like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think I did, that he has a day job. So he does something else for a living. And he helps me with the farm and stuff and when he gets off of work. So what we did is I would measure these boards out and I would write on the back in pencil how long the board was. And then, so I handpicked every board where it went in this room. I would write on there the length And if it was like damaged on one side and it had to be cut off, I would write like, 6.5 inches left or whatever, which meaning it had to go in the room somewhere on the left, or it had to go somewhere on the right or whatever, so that we knew that we could get the maximum use out of the flooring, and it would all fit together properly. And I even picked like the pattern. I picked, oh, whoops, I'm hitting that light switch. I picked like if it had a nicer pattern, which the rug covers a lot of it. I tried to put those boards, here as you walk in, and some of the lesser, like you can see over here, I love like this like little piece right in between these two rugs. You can't see much of it, but right in between those two rugs, you can see this right here. It's got a cool, look at my shadows in the way. Yeah, I'm a great videographer, can't you tell? But I tried to do things like that in places that were more visible. So, and it is dusty and dirty. I need to vacuum or sweep. But I love this floor. And maybe because we did put in another floor. We put in our living room, dining room floor, which was acacia. We did that a year or so ago. And a couple years ago. And that was like, I felt like I was being driven. Oh, it was tough. That was a tough floor. But this is one of my favorites. And I guess I like the living room, the acacia as much that we put in. So before we did that one, this one was my favorite, and I'm rattling on. Sorry. But it's beautiful. It came out nice. It wasn't so damaged that it didn't work well. It's fit well. It has worn well. It is a guest room, so it doesn't get a lot of traffic. So maybe it wouldn't have worn as well if it was a main, one of the main areas of the house. I don't know. But the price was right. I mean, you can't hardly get carpet. You can't get carpet for that price, and you can't really hardly probably get only the cheapest brittle, crackly linoleum for that price. So for the labor, it was absolutely worth it. And this floor, even if it was needed to be completely sanded and stripped in some amount of years, it's still real wood. Oh, and the mattress. That was the other thing I was going to talk about, and this video is way long. So, and you see my used cut open sock rag over there. So just ignore that. We use mostly natural fibers. So old socks become rags, and they work really good because they have texture. Unless they're wool. I don't use wool socks for old rags. I just learned from Ring Country that I could take old wool socks and turn them into a blanket, which is a great idea. But old socks become rags, and the texture is great. I love tube socks for rags, and we bleach all of our rags, and when they get bad enough, you just use them on something really gross and throw them away. So the mattresses. We get our mattresses for the last several years, many years. We have gotten them from a place called Foam Factory. This video is not sponsored. Like I said, this is my first YouTube video. I clearly don't have sponsors. I just am going to talk about things we do and use and like and don't like, and companies that we buy from. And it doesn't mean that there's some things about those companies I may love, and there may be some things about those companies I don't love. But we live here and we have limited selection. We're rural, and I only have so many options. And I'm also with the farm. I don't have time. We used to live in the city, and I had time to go. I had everything at my fingertips to go, shop at all kinds of different stores. And we have not lived in the city, thankfully, for a long time. And we're back in where we grew up, in the country, in farm country. And I have to, pick things based on my time and availability. So I do have some standards, but sometimes you have to do what you got to do. So the mattress we get from Foam Factory, which we love. We've been buying mattresses from them forever. Would I love to have the money to have like some, custom wool, whatever, or something? Yeah, I'd love it. But they do have, I think they have natural latex mattresses that you can get. They used to. And the thing about Foam Factory is they're online. They ship it to your house. It's shrunk down into plastic. You can get the exact size. Like this antique bed is not even a full. It is shorter and narrower than a full bed. And so we could get the custom size cut, and we can pick the firmness. We can pick the height up to so many inches. You can add, so you can stack different firmnesses, which is what we do. And you can pick the cover, like the zippered cover that covers the mattress. And the one thing I need to do though is I need to see these edges. It's very hard to make the bed like that. So what I got to do, we need a new mattress on our bed, and it's bigger than this bed. So to upcycle, which I'm very much into not throwing things and filling up landfills. Grew up very, very poor, so I learned always how to make do with things and to, improvise. So, and not to waste. So we're going to take our mattress, and that's still a philosophy for me today. I believe in taking care of the creation that God has given us and not to pollute it and not to waste what I've been given. So it's one of the ways that we operate here. It's one of the reasons I like the materials I like, that I do the things I do, that I work really diligently to repurpose as much as I can. So anyway, so our mattress needs to be replaced. It's long, but needing to be replaced. We're going to cut out, if you use an electric like carving knife, it cuts through foam fantastically. So we're going to cut our mattress down to fit this. It'll go on the bottom, and I can either sew or order a bed sack that will basically fit it, and then we'll order our new mattress. And then I'm going to use the other pieces to fluff up my couch, which I love, but is getting saggy. And it's too good of a couch. Just for some saggy cushions, I will fluff up the pillows and the cushions on the couch with the leftover pieces and whatever else I need to, that I can use those pieces for. So this will get raised up enough, it's really low, that it'll be easier to make the bed. And one of the things that we do with our bedding, and I know I'm staying static on this scene, which sometimes is okay in a video, sometimes not. I guess I could pan around the room again. One of the things that I'm going to do, or that we do with our mattresses that keeps them fresh, is they always get covered with a waterproof bed sack, like a bed bug proof bed sack that stays pretty much on the mattress. It gets taken off and gets washed, but not very often. It's basically almost like the fabric of the mattress. We just treat it like it's just part of the mattress. And once in a while, I will take it off, like I said, and wash them. And then on top of that goes a waterproof top layer mattress pad. So you got a bed sack, then you got then a bed sack, and then a waterproof mattress pad, washable. I always get the washable kind. There's some really thin terry top. They're like terry on the top, and you don't want to dry those on high, but you can dry them. And then there's some that there's like the fabric, the waterproof fabric is sandwiched in between. So we do the bed sack, then the waterproof, and then another mattress pad. And sometimes the top mattress pad is just an old waterproof that has lost its ability to be waterproof. And so multiple layers, and then the sheets, so that the mattress never gets the sweat and, the funk that mattresses get. And they are always kept clean and fresh. And then those things get laundered on a regular basis. And it really helps with maintaining our mattresses get saggy before they ever get so gross that before they ever get gross, they just get, dented. So that's going to happen with this bed. That'll bring this up a little bit, and that'll be nice. And I can't think of what else. I know, I'm just jumping from one subject to the next. The stools. I was going to talk about these stools. I did recover these. They need to be painted. See this, there's this funky black and gold, which I don't really like. They should either be all black, maybe not all gold. That'd be kind of gaudy in this room, but I'm not sure what I'm going to spray paint the frames. But I got these on clearance at some furniture store, and I got enough to do footstools in every room. And they've turned out to be really nice. We have a set in the living room that I have a floral pattern I put on them, and they sit at the ends of the coffee table, and our grandson sits there. The kids sit there, they can color, sometimes I sit there if I'm playing with the kids or something. So they were easy. Footstools are an easy way to learn to do reupholstery. I'd love to be able to tackle some real furniture. I've got a chair downstairs and a footstool that I really would like to get done. But this is pretty simple when it's just squares. This room, I did this green color, And I did one in my son's room that's got like a nautical tapestry fabric, and his room is like done in a nautical theme. And then the ones in the living room are done in a floral. And so I think I paid $6 for the footstools, and you could do just a really inexpensive, cheap piece of fabric. Small, inexpensive piece of fabric for your fabric. That could even be like a recycled or piece of clothing or something that you could use to cover something that small. I do need to still spray paint the frames. Like I said, I don't think any of the frames got spray painted because I couldn't figure out what each one was going to get painted, what color for which room. But I do need to do that. And I think that's pretty good. The plants are also sale. The geranium was a local nursery that I shop at a lot, and they had free geraniums. So I got like 4 of them one day when I went in to get some other plants. And sometimes I struggle with geraniums. The mother-in-law tongue, which I know is not a very nice name. My mother-in-law is wonderful. So I think it's also called the snake plant. That was, I think, a marked down plant as well. And some plants I do okay, and some plants I just kill. So far these are surviving, but the geraniums are, sometimes they're touch and go. So that's, I think, all I can think of to talk about in this room. It's way long. This video is almost an hour. And my husband suggested I try to make them under 10 minutes. He knows me better. I'm a talkative person, hence the name Painted Tongue, which I will talk about. I guess I shouldn't just name that. Just talk about that now because it's so weird. When I was going to school for design, we had to take all kinds of art classes when you go to school for interior design. And so I was in design or paint, one of the paint classes, one of the design classes. And the university also had an art submission, a poetry or writing submission for a book. And I've written poetry since I was in junior high school. And so I was thumbing through, we had been painting that day in class, and I was thumbing through the book, my book of poetry. And I said, I was talking about other friends, and I was saying, are you going to publish under your real name or under an art name? At that point, I was married to my ex-husband, and I'd always written under my maiden name and didn't know, how I went and had kids, and, do I want to publish under my married name, and, all of that, just didn't know. And and I was licking my finger as I was turning the pages of the book. And I said, well, in a minute, you're going to have to call me Painted Tongue. And my friend Crystal said, I think you have your art name, your pen name. And it has stuck ever since. And so that is my email. That is my website. That is my business. It's unique. It fits me because I'm Gabby. And I have a lot of different interests. I don't know. It's that's where it came from. It's not anything weird. It's just it's always fit, and it's not taken. And so I do have my own domain, and it's worked well for me over the years, and that was many, many years ago. So that's where that name came from. And I'm not Native American, and I always wished I was. I love the indigenous history and the indigenous connection to nature and all of that. But as far as I know, there's not any indigenous ancestry in my family. But and it kind of reminds me of an indigenous name, but it is original to me, and it kind of fits my personality, I guess. So as you can tell, because I have talked about 1,000 things for a very long time on this video and jumped from one subject to the other, and hopefully I'll see you again, and I'll do another video soon. I pray that this will bless you in some way, inspire you, maybe help you avoid a mistake that we made, and just that you'll have some enjoyment and find some joy. May you be blessed, and I hope to see you next time. Shalom.